What would you do if one act of kindness revealed a truth that shattered everything you thought you knew? Tonight, we're bringing you the story of Jonathan Whitmore, a 68-year-old Manhattan billionaire who gave his coat to a freezing girl in the rain. Never imagining that this simple gesture would uncover a devastating family secret buried for nearly 2 decades. A homeless teenager, a lost daughter, and a revelation that would bring a powerful man to his knees. This is a story about the cost of pride, the power of forgiveness, and how one moment can rewrite the rest of your life. But before we begin, if you enjoy stories that touch the heart and remind us what truly matters, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our uploads. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's dive into this incredible journey. The rain came down in sheets that night, turning Manhattan's Fifth Avenue into a river of brake lights and blurred reflections. Jonathan Whitmore stood under the awning of the Sterling Tower, watching his driver navigate through the downpour 40 feet away. The cold bit through his tailored suit, but he barely noticed. At 68, he'd grown accustomed to discomfort. The kind that had nothing to do with weather. His phone buzzed. Another email from the board. Another crisis that would be forgotten by morning. He slipped it back into his pocket without reading it. That's when he saw her. A small figure pressed against the building's stone facade, 10 yards to his left. She couldn't have been more than 14, wearing a soaked hoodie that clung to her thin frame. Her arms wrapped around herself, and even from a distance, Jonathan could see her shivering. Most people walked past without a second glance. This was Manhattan. Homelessness was a statistic, not a person. Jonathan's first instinct was to look away. He'd donated millions to charitable causes over the years. Wrote the checks, attended the galas, smiled for the cameras. That was enough, wasn't it? But something about the way she stood there, not begging, not approaching anyone, just trying to survive the storm, made him pause. His driver pulled up, honking twice. Jonathan raised a hand. Wait. He walked toward the girl, his expensive Italian shoes splashing through puddles that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. She noticed him approaching and tensed her dark eyes wary. Up close, he could see she was younger than he'd thought. Her face was gaunt, but there was something striking about her features. Intelligence burned behind the exhaustion. Without a word, Jonathan unbuttoned his cashmere coat. It had cost $8,000. He'd worn it twice. Here, he said, extending it toward her. The girl stared at the coat, then at him. I don't need charity. Her voice surprised him. Clear, articulate, with none of the desperation he'd expected. It's not charity, Jonathan replied. It's practicality. You're freezing, and I have a heated car 30 seconds away. Take it. She hesitated, pride and cold warring on her face. The cold won. She accepted the coat, pulling it around her shoulders. It swallowed her small frame, the hem dragging on the wet concrete. Thank you, she said softly. And again, that voice struck him. Polite. Educated. Even. Jonathan nodded, ready to leave, but found himself asking, do you have somewhere to go tonight? I'll figure it out. She pulled the coat tighter. I always do. There's a shelter 6 blocks. I know where the shelters are. Not rude, just factual. His driver honked again, more insistently. Jonathan ignored it. What's your name? The girl met his eyes for a long moment. Lily. Lily Parker. I'm Jonathan Whitmore. Something flickered across her face. Recognition? Surprise? It vanished so quickly he thought he'd imagined it. I know who you are, she said quietly. Everyone does. The third honk came. Jonathan reached for his wallet, but Lily shook her head. I don't want money. The coat is enough. More than enough. It was the strangest response he'd encountered in decades of interactions with people who always wanted something from him. The coat is yours, he said. Stay warm. Lily Parker. As he walked away, he glanced back once. She stood there in his coat, watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Then she turned and disappeared into the storm. Jonathan climbed into his car, and Thomas, his driver of 20 years, raised an eyebrow in the rearview mirror. That was unlike you, sir. Drive, Thomas. But as they pulled away from the curb, Jonathan found himself looking back at where the girl had stood. The space was empty now, just another shadow in the rain. He settled into the leather seat, telling himself it was just a coat. A simple act of human decency. Nothing more. He was wrong. The Whitmore mansion in the Upper East Side had 42 rooms. Jonathan used maybe 7 of them regularly. The rest stood empty, maintained by a staff that moved through the halls like ghosts, keeping everything perfect for a life that had stopped feeling lived in years ago. That night, he sat in his study with a glass of scotch he didn't drink, staring at the rain pelting against floor-to-ceiling windows. The city sprawled below him, millions of lights representing millions of lives he'd never touch or understand. His phone sat on the desk, dark. No missed calls. There never were, not personal ones. Business contacts, yes. Board members, investors, lawyers, but no one who would call just to hear his voice. The loneliness of wealth, he'd learned, was its own particular prison. His eyes drifted to the photograph on his desk. The only personal item in a room full of expensive art and first edition books. Evelyn, his daughter, smiling at the camera at age 16. Before everything fell apart. Before the arguments that turned into silence, that turned into absence. 23 years since she'd walked out of this house. 18 years since he'd learned she was dead. No, not learned. Been told by a social worker who tracked him down, formal and apologetic, explaining that his daughter had died in a hospital in Newark. Alone. No service. No grave he could visit. He'd tried to find out more, but the trail was cold. Evelyn had become a ghost long before her death, living on the streets, falling through every crack in the system. His investigators had found nothing. No records, no friends, no trace of how she'd spent those final years. The guilt was a constant companion now, as familiar as his own heartbeat. He should have tried harder. Should have found her. Should have said the words that might have brought her home. But billionaires, he discovered, could buy everything except forgiveness. Jonathan finally picked up his scotch and took a sip. The girl from tonight. Lily. Reminded him of Evelyn somehow. The same fierce independence. The same careful walls around her vulnerability. Probably just projection. Probably just an old man seeing ghosts in every young face. He set down the glass and turned off the light, leaving the study in darkness. Somewhere out in that storm, a girl was wearing his coat. He hoped she was warm. Lily Parker had learned early that hope was a luxury she couldn't afford. At 14, she'd already lived 3 lifetimes worth of disappointment. Foster homes that didn't work out, shelters that ran out of beds, adults who made promises they never kept. But the coat, this coat, was different. She sat in the back corner of the St. Augustine shelter, the coat wrapped around her like a cocoon. It still smelled expensive. Leather and something else, some cologne that probably cost more than she'd see in a year. The fabric was impossibly soft, and for the first time in weeks, she wasn't cold. The other girls in the shelter eyed it with envy, but no one tried to take it. There was something about Lily, a quiet strength that made even the older kids think twice. "That's some coat," said Maria, one of the shelter volunteers, as she did the evening rounds. "Where'd you get it?" "Someone gave it to me," Lily said simply. "Must be someone pretty special." Maria smiled. She was one of the good ones. Actually cared, didn't just go through the motions. Lily nodded but didn't elaborate. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the photograph she always carried. Worn and creased, protected in a plastic sleeve she'd found in a library trash can. The woman in the photo was thin, tired-looking, but smiling. Evelyn Parker, Lily's mother. Dead 2 years now. "Your grandfather was a powerful man," her mother had said once, in one of her lucid moments near the end. "Jonathan Whitmore. One of the richest men in New York. But money couldn't fix what was broken between us." Lily had only been 12 then, sitting in a hospital room that smelled of disinfectant and death, holding her mother's frail hand. "Why didn't you ever contact him?" Lily had asked. "If he was rich,
Maybe he could have helped us. Her mother's laugh had been bitter. Some bridges, baby girl, they burn too completely to ever rebuild. He made his choice. I made mine. And now, she'd coughed, a rattling sound that made the machines beep faster. Now you're what's left of both of us. Did he know about me? No. Her mother's eyes had filled with tears. And maybe that's for the best. He lost me because he couldn't see past his own pain. I won't let him lose you too. I don't understand, Mom. You will. Someday. She'd squeezed Lily's hand weakly. Just remember, you're stronger than both of us. You're a Whitmore and a Parker. That means something. That means everything. 3 days later, she was gone. Now, sitting in the shelter with Jonathan Whitmore's coat wrapped around her, Lily traced her mother's face in the photograph. The resemblance was there. Same dark eyes, same sharp cheekbones. People used to say Lily looked just like her. When the billionaire had introduced himself tonight, Lily's heart had stopped. She'd seen him on the news, of course. In magazines. But standing there in the rain, offering his coat, he just seemed like a tired old man trying to do one decent thing. She'd almost told him. Almost said, I'm Lily. Evelyn's daughter. Your granddaughter. But fear had stopped her tongue. What if he rejected her? What if he didn't believe her? What if he was exactly the cold, unfeeling man her mother had described? No. Better to stay invisible. Better to survive on her own terms. But as she clutched the coat tighter, breathing in that expensive smell, Lily couldn't help wondering, what if? If you're enjoying this story, please take a moment to hit that like button. Your support means everything and helps us bring you more content like this. 3 weeks passed. Manhattan moved on, as it always did, swallowing up moments and memories in its relentless forward momentum. Jonathan tried to forget about the girl in the rain. He had a company to run, deals to close, a board meeting that devolved into a 6-hour argument about international expansion. His days blurred together. Car, office, meetings, car, home. Repeat. But late at night, when the city finally quieted and he sat alone in his study, he found himself thinking about her. Lily Parker. That strange, proud girl who'd refused his money but accepted his warmth. Thomas noticed the change in him. You've been distracted lately, sir, the driver said one morning as they sat in traffic on Madison Avenue. Have I? You've missed 3 turns to the office this week. Just stared out the window. Jonathan didn't respond immediately. Outside, the city churned with life. Businessmen checking phones, mothers pushing strollers, delivery drivers weaving between cars. All of them with lives, stories, connections he'd never know. Do you ever wonder, Thomas, if we're doing enough? The driver's eyes met his in the rearview mirror. Enough of what, sir? Just enough. Jonathan gestured vaguely at the world beyond the window. We give to charity. We attend fundraisers. But does any of it actually matter? Thomas was quiet for a long moment. He'd been with the Whitmore family since before Evelyn was born. He'd watched it all fall apart. I think, Thomas said carefully, that sometimes one real moment of humanity matters more than $1 million in donations. Is that your way of saying I did the right thing? Giving away my coat? I'm saying maybe that girl needed to see that someone with everything could still care about someone with nothing. Thomas paused. And maybe you needed to see it too. The light changed. They drove on. That afternoon, Jonathan did something he hadn't done in 15 years. He canceled his meetings and told Thomas to drive him to the Lower East Side. The St. Augustine shelter occupied a converted church building, its Gothic architecture incongruous among the modern storefronts and apartment complexes. Jonathan had donated to it over the years. His foundation sent them a check quarterly, but he'd never actually visited. The irony wasn't lost on him. Inside, the shelter was warmer than he'd expected, filled with the sounds of children playing and volunteers organizing donated clothes. The smell was institution familiar, industrial cleaner, cafeteria food, too many people in too small a space. A woman in her 50s approached him, her expression shifting from welcoming to surprised recognition in an instant. Mr. Whitmore, She extended her hand. Maria Alvarez. I manage the day program here. We've received your foundation support for years. We're grateful. I should have come sooner, Jonathan said, shaking her hand. His eyes scanned the room, looking for, what? A ghost in an expensive coat? Would you like a tour? See how your donations are being used. Actually, I was looking for someone. A girl, about 14, dark hair. Her name is Lily Parker. Maria's expression changed, guarded, protective. We have several girls staying here, and I'm afraid I can't share information about specific residents without. I'm not here to cause trouble. Jonathan pulled out his wallet, then stopped. The girl's words echoed. I don't want money. 3 weeks ago, I gave her my coat. I just wanted to make sure she was safe. The protective wall in Maria's eyes softened slightly. The cashmere coat. Half the girls here have been jealous of it. She studied Jonathan for a moment, some calculation happening behind her eyes. Come with me. She led him through the main room, past clusters of children doing homework at folding tables, past a kitchen where dinner was already being prepared. They passed a hallway lined with donated coats and shoes, then entered a smaller room set up as a library. And there she was. Lily sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by 3 younger children. She held a book open, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and was reading aloud with animated voices for each character. The kids were transfixed. She still wore his coat, Jonathan noticed. Even though it was warm inside, she wore it like armor. Lily looked up and saw him. Froze mid-sentence, her eyes going wide. The younger children protested. Keep reading, Lily. Give me a minute, guys. She closed the book carefully and stood, the coat falling around her like a cloak. Mr. Whitmore. Lily. He felt suddenly awkward, out of place. I didn't mean to interrupt. You tracked me down. Not an accusation, just a statement. I wanted to make sure you were all right. Why? The question was direct, challenging. You gave me the coat. That was the kind act. You're not responsible for anything more. Maria cleared her throat. I'll give you two some privacy. Lily, if you need anything, I'll be right outside. The door clicked shut. They stood 10 feet apart, a billionaire and a homeless girl in his expensive coat. How did you find this place? Lily asked. My foundation donates here. I should have visited sooner. Jonathan moved closer, studying her face. That familiarity nagged at him again. You read to them often. When I can. Most of the younger kids are behind in school. Reading helps. She touched the book protectively. This was my mom's favorite. Was. She died 2 years ago. Lily's voice was matter-of-fact, but Jonathan heard the grief underneath. I'm sorry. And he was, deeply. He knew what it meant to lose someone. That's why you came. To check on the orphan girl you gave your coat to. There was an edge to her voice now. Feel good about yourself? Tell your friends at the country club about your charitable visit? No. Jonathan met her eyes steadily. I came because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. About that night. You reminded me of someone. Who? My daughter. Lily's expression shifted. Something Jonathan couldn't quite read. Fear? Recognition? She gripped the book tighter. You have a daughter. Had. She died. 18 years ago now. The words still hurt to say. We argued. She left. And I never got the chance to apologize. What did you argue about? Jonathan sank into one of the small chairs, suddenly exhausted. Everything. Nothing. She wanted to make her own choices. I wanted to control everything to keep her safe. She wanted freedom. I wanted her to fit into the life I'd built. He rubbed his face. In the end, I wanted to be right more than I wanted to keep my daughter. Lily sat down slowly, still keeping distance between them. My mom used to say pride was the most expensive luxury in the world. Your mother was wise. She was broken. Lily's voice cracked. But she tried. Every day, even when it was hard, even when she was sick, she tried. That's more than a lot of people do. They sat in silence for a moment, two people carrying the weight of different losses. What was her name? Jonathan asked. Your mother. Lily opened her mouth, closed it. The moment stretched thin between them. Finally, she said, "Evelyn." Her name was Evelyn. The world stopped. Jonathan stared at her, his mind refusing to process what he'd heard. "What did you say?" "My mom's name was Evelyn." Lily's hands shook as she clutched the book. "Evelyn Parker. She said she used to be Evelyn Whitmore, but she gave up that name when she gave up everything else." The floor seemed to tilt. Jonathan gripped the edge of the chair, his heart hammering. "That's not possible. Evelyn died in Newark, alone. A social worker told me she died in Mount Sinai Hospital, Upper Manhattan, with me holding her hand." Lily's voice broke. She had pneumonia that turned into sepsis. She held on for 3 days after they said she wouldn't make it through the night. Held on because she didn't want me to be alone when it happened. No, this isn't. Jonathan stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. "Why are you saying this? What do you want from me?" "Nothing." Lily stood too, anger flashing in her eyes. Eyes that were suddenly, unmistakably familiar. Evelyn's eyes. "I didn't ask you to find me. I didn't ask you to give me your coat. I was doing fine on my own. If what you're saying is true, it's true." She yanked something from her pocket, a photograph in a plastic sleeve. Thrust it at him with trembling hands. "This is her. This is my mom. Your daughter. Look at her and tell me I'm lying." Jonathan took the photograph with numb fingers. And there she was. Evelyn. Older, thinner, worn by life, but unmistakably his daughter. His little girl. And next to her in the photo, a younger Lily, maybe 11 or 12, both of them smiling despite the obvious poverty around them. A shelter room visible in the background. His legs gave out. He sat down hard, the photograph clutched in his hand. "Oh God," he whispered. "Oh God, Evelyn." Lily was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. "She never stopped loving you. Even though you fought. Even though she left. She kept your picture. She told me stories about when she was little, before everything went wrong. She said you weren't always cold, that you used to laugh. I tried to find her." Jonathan's voice broke. "When she left, I hired investigators. I searched. But she didn't want to be found. She was pregnant." Lily's words were quiet, devastating. "That's why she left. She was 16 and pregnant and scared. And when she told you, you said that she was ruining her life. That she was too young. That she needed to." Jonathan couldn't finish. The memory rose up, sharp and merciless. That terrible fight, his daughter crying, his own anger drowning out everything else. "I told her to get rid of it. Get rid of you." Lily flinched. "And she said she'd rather live on the streets than kill her baby. So she left. And I was too proud to stop her. Too angry. I thought she'd come back. Thought she'd realize she needed me." Jonathan looked at the photograph, his vision blurring. By the time I tried to apologize, she was gone. Vanished into the city. And I told myself she was better off. That she'd made her choice. She wasn't better off. Lily's voice was hard now. "We lived in shelters. In cars. In abandoned buildings. She worked 3 jobs and still couldn't keep us housed. She got sick and couldn't afford treatment. And when she finally couldn't hide anymore, when the hospitals found out she had a daughter living on the streets with her, CPS tried to take me. So she ran again. Kept running until her body gave up." The weight of it crushed Jonathan. Every comfortable night in his mansion while his daughter shivered in shelters. Every expensive meal while she went hungry. Every missed moment, every lost year. Every chance to make it right that he'd thrown away. "Why didn't she tell me about you?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "I would have helped. Despite everything, I would have." "Would you?" Lily's eyes were fierce, challenging. "Really? The man who told his 16-year-old daughter to get rid of her baby? The man who let pride matter more than family? She didn't tell you because she didn't trust you. And maybe she was right not to." The words were knives, and they cut deep because they were true. Jonathan looked at the girl in front of him. His granddaughter, this fierce survivor who'd inherited Evelyn's strength, and felt the full measure of everything he'd lost. "You're right," he said quietly. She was right not to trust me. I failed her. Completely. And I can't. His voice broke. I can't undo any of it. Can't bring her back. Can't give you back the childhood you should have had. Lily wiped her eyes with the sleeve of his coat. I don't want your guilt. And I don't want your pity. Then what do you want? She looked at him for a long moment. I want to know if my mom was right. If you were always the man who chose being right over being loving. Or if you were ever the dad she remembered. The one who used to laugh. The question hung in the air between them. Before Jonathan could answer, the door opened. Maria stood there, concern etched on her face. Is everything all right? I heard raised voices. It's... Lily started. No. Jonathan interrupted. He stood, his legs unsteady. Nothing is all right. But it's going to be. He looked at Maria. This girl is my granddaughter. Evelyn's daughter. I need to make some calls. I need to. Whoa, hold on. Lily stepped back. I didn't tell you this so you could swoop in and fix everything with your money. I'm not trying to fix. That's exactly what you're trying to do. Lily's voice rose. My mom spent 14 years keeping me away from you because she knew this is what would happen. You'd try to control everything, make decisions for me, turn me into some project. You're not a project. Jonathan's own voice rose to match hers. You're my granddaughter. You're living in a shelter, sleeping God knows where, and I have the means to. To what? Buy me? Pay off your guilt? I'm not for sale, Mr. Whitmore. I wasn't that night in the rain, and I'm not now. They faced each other, both breathing hard, and Jonathan saw so much of Evelyn in her defiance, the same stubborn independence that had driven them apart. He forced himself to speak calmly. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm doing exactly what I did before, trying to control instead of listening. But Lily, please, at least let me help. Let me be what I wasn't for your mother. I don't know if I can trust you. I don't know if I've earned that trust. Jonathan's hands trembled as he returned the photograph. But I'm asking for the chance to try. Not as a billionaire. As your grandfather. Maria had been watching this exchange with growing realization. Mr. Whitmore, if what you're saying is true, there are legal processes. CPS, guardianship papers. It's not as simple as, I understand. Jonathan pulled out his phone. My lawyers can handle whatever paperwork is necessary. But first, he looked at Lily. First, I need to prove to you that I'm serious. That this isn't about obligation or guilt. What do you need? Really need? Lily's laugh was bitter. Besides a time machine, besides that. She studied him, searching for something in his face. Whatever she found must have satisfied some small part of her, because she said, I need to finish high school without worrying about where I'll sleep. I need to know the kids here will be okay without me reading to them, and I need. Her voice softened. I need to know who my mom was before everything went wrong. The version of her you knew. The one who still laughed. Jonathan felt tears on his face. When had he started crying? I can tell you about her, he said. About the little girl who used to dance on my feet. About the teenager who wanted to change the world. About all the moments before I ruined everything. Don't make promises you won't keep. I'm not promising I'll be perfect. Or even good at this. Jonathan took a careful step closer. But I promise I'll try. Every day. For as long as you'll let me. Because you're right. I chose pride over love once. And it cost me everything. I won't make that mistake again. The silence stretched. Outside the room, the shelter continued its evening rhythm. Children laughing, volunteers calling names for dinner. Normal life, continuing despite the earthquake happening in this small library. Finally, Lily said, okay. One word. But it felt like a door cracking open. Okay, Jonathan repeated. I'll give you a chance. Not because I think you've earned it. Because my mom would have wanted me to. She never stopped hoping you'd change. Lily's eyes were hard but wet. Don't make her wrong about that. I won't, Jonathan said. And meant it with everything he had left. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more stories like this. We post new content every week, and your subscription helps us reach more people who need to hear these messages. The process of claiming Lily wasn't simple. Jonathan's lawyers warned him it could take months. CPS had to be involved. Background checks, home studies, court appearances. But money and determination could accelerate certain things. Within 3 days, Jonathan had hired the best family law attorney in New York. Within a week, emergency guardianship papers were filed. Within 2 weeks, a court date was set. Through it all, Jonathan visited the shelter every day. At first, Lily kept her distance, watching him with wary eyes. She'd let him sit in the library while she read to the kids, but wouldn't engage beyond necessary conversation. "You don't have to come every day," she said on the 4th visit. "I'm not going anywhere, I know." Jonathan settled into what had become his chair, a too small plastic thing that made his back ache. "But I missed 18 years. I'm not missing any more days. This is a phase. You'll get bored. Try me." He brought books. Not expensive first editions, but paperbacks the kids could actually enjoy without worrying about damage. He brought supplies for the shelter. Not just money, but his time. He helped Maria organize the donation closet. He served dinner. He fixed a leaky sink in the bathroom because the shelter couldn't afford a plumber. Thomas would wait in the car, reading his newspaper, occasionally glancing up to see his employer mopping floors or sorting donated clothes. "Never thought I'd see the day," Thomas said one evening as they drove home, "that I'd discover basic human decency, that you'd find your way back to it." Thomas met his eyes in the mirror. "She's good for you, sir. Keeps you honest." On the 5th day, Lily let him sit next to her while she read. On the 7th day, she let him read a chapter. On the 10th day, after all the kids had gone to dinner, she said, "Tell me about her. About my mom when she was young." So he did. Jonathan told her about Evelyn at 5, insisting on wearing a superhero cape to her first day of kindergarten. About Evelyn at 8, organizing a protest when the school tried to cut arts funding. About Evelyn at 13, staying up all night to finish a painting for the school art show. She was fearless, he said. Passionate about everything. Sometimes I'd come home from work and find her in the kitchen, covered in paint or flour, or both, creating something. She never did anything halfway. "What changed?" Lily asked. Between that and the fights, Jonathan was quiet for a long moment. "I did. After her mother died, my wife Catherine, I threw myself into work. It was easier than dealing with grief. And Evelyn needed me to be present, but all I knew how to be was absent. We grew apart. And by the time she was 16, we'd become strangers living in the same house. She got pregnant because she was lonely," Lily said softly. "She told me once. Said she fell in love with a boy who paid attention to her, who saw her. And when she told him about the baby, he disappeared. So she came to you, hoping," she trailed off, "hoping I'd be different, that I'd choose her." Jonathan closed his eyes. "And instead, I gave her an ultimatum. The baby or me. The stupidest, cruelest thing I've ever done. She chose me. She chose love. Which is what I should have done." Lily turned the photograph over in her hands, the same one she'd shown him that first day. "She kept this picture of you in her wallet. Even when we had nothing, she kept it. I asked her why once. Why keep a picture of someone who hurt her so badly? What did she say? She said, because everyone deserves the chance to be forgiven. Even if they never ask for it. Even if they never know they've been forgiven. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die." Lily's voice caught. "She forgave you, Mr. Whitmore. Years ago. The question is whether you can forgive yourself." The words broke something in Jonathan. He put his head in his hands and wept. Deep, shaking sobs that came from a place he'd locked away for decades. Lily sat beside him,
Not touching, just present. Eventually, she also said that crying doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And being human is the hardest, bravest thing we can do. When Jonathan finally looked up, Lily was crying too. Without thinking, he reached out. To his surprise, she didn't pull away. Her hand found his, and they sat there in the gathering darkness of the shelter library. Two survivors of the same loss. beginning to bridge an impossible distance. "I don't know if I can ever make this right," Jonathan said. "But I need you to know. You are not a burden. You are not a responsibility. You are my granddaughter, and you are wanted. Truly wanted. I would give everything I have, every dollar, every possession, every remaining day of my life, to keep you safe and loved. Because that's what family means. What it should have always meant." Lily squeezed his hand. "Don't make speeches. Just be here. That's what I need. Someone who shows up. I can do that, can you? Watch me." And he did. Every day. Through the legal proceedings. Through the home study, where a social worker toured his mansion and questioned whether a 14-year-old girl needed 42 rooms. Through the court appearances where Lily told a judge, yes, she wanted to live with her grandfather. Yes, she believed he would care for her properly. Yes, she understood he was wealthy and wanted to make sure she wasn't being coerced. "Nobody could coerce me into anything," Lily told the judge firmly. "Ask anyone who knows me. I'm only doing this because I choose to. Because everyone deserves a second chance. Even billionaires." The courtroom had laughed. The judge had smiled. And 3 weeks after that first revelation in the shelter library, Jonathan walked out of the courthouse with temporary guardianship papers and his granddaughter by his side. Thomas was waiting with the car. He opened the door, and for the first time since that rainy night, Lily hesitated. "It's really happening," she said quietly. "We can still slow down," Jonathan offered. "Take more time if you need it." "No." Lily straightened her shoulders. "I'm not scared. I've never had a home before. Not a real one. What if I don't know how? Then we'll figure it out together." Jonathan gestured to the car. "Shall we?" Lily climbed in. Jonathan followed. As Thomas pulled into traffic, Lily stared out the window at the city passing by. "My mom used to bring me to Central Park," she said. "On her days off, we'd pretend we lived in one of the fancy apartments nearby. Made up stories about which one was ours. She always picked the one with the biggest windows. Said she wanted to see as much light as possible." "What did you pick?" Jonathan asked. "The one with the window boxes." She thought that was funny. "We're living in shelters, and I want an apartment with flowers." Lily smiled slightly. But she got it. Said someday we'd have a garden. Grow things. Make something beautiful out of dirt. Jonathan felt his throat tighten. "There's a garden behind the house. It's been neglected for years. Maybe you could bring it back to life." "Maybe." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then, "You really have 42 rooms. Ridiculous, isn't it? Can I pick which one is mine?" "You can pick 3 if you want." She actually laughed. A small sound, but real. "I'll start with 1. Work my way up." When they pulled up to the Whitmore mansion, Lily stared through the car window for a full minute. "This is insane," she finally said. "This whole building is yours, ours," Jonathan corrected gently. "If you'll have it." They walked up the stone steps together. Mrs. Chen, the house manager, waited in the doorway, her normally stoic face showing traces of emotion. "Welcome home, Miss Lily," she said formally, but her eyes were warm. Lily looked at Jonathan. "Does everyone here know that you're my granddaughter?" "Yes." "That you're welcome here?" "Yes." "That they're under strict orders to let you be yourself and not to hover?" "Also yes." "You gave orders about not hovering while literally hovering." "I'm working on it." Mrs. Chen showed them inside. The entryway alone was bigger than most of the places Lily had ever lived. Marble floors, high ceilings, a chandelier that probably cost more than, well, everything. "It's too much," Lily whispered. "I know." "I'm sorry. Don't apologize for having money. Just, maybe turn off a few lights. This feels like a museum." Jonathan actually smiled. "We can adjust anything you want. This is your home now. It should feel like it." They toured the mansion slowly. Lily was quiet, taking it all in. The formal dining room, she said, looked like where presidents ate Thanksgiving dinner. The library that made her eyes go wide. The kitchen that made her shake her head in disbelief. "My entire shelter could fit in this one room,"
she said, staring at the industrial-sized appliances. We can cook whatever you want, Mrs. Chen offered. Do you have favorite foods? Food that isn't expired. Lily's attempt at humor fell flat. She looked embarrassed. Sorry, I'm not good at this. Neither am I, Jonathan admitted. Shall we muddle through together? Finally, they reached the second floor. Jonathan stopped at a door at the end of the hall. This was your mother's room, he said quietly. I haven't changed it. Couldn't bring myself to. But it's yours now, if you want it. Or we can prepare a different room. Whatever makes you comfortable. Lily pushed open the door. The room was frozen in time. Posters from the 1990s, a desk covered in old art supplies, a bookshelf lined with young adult novels. Frozen at 16, waiting for a girl who never came home. She walked in slowly, touching things carefully. A trophy from debate team. A framed photo of teenage Evelyn and some friends at what looked like a school dance. A half-finished painting on an easel near the window. What was she painting? Lily asked. Jonathan moved closer. He'd avoided this room for years, but now he studied the canvas. A sunrise, I think. She always loved dawn. Used to get up early just to watch it. Me too. Lily touched the painting gently. Mom said I got that from her. That we were both morning people in a world of night owls. She walked to the window and looked out over the manicured gardens, the city beyond. I'll take this room, she said. If that's okay. I want to be where she was. Want to. Her voice broke. I want to feel close to her. Of course. Jonathan stayed by the door, giving her space. Take your time. Settle in. I'll be downstairs if you need anything. But as he turned to leave, Lily said, Wait. He stopped. She was still staring out the window, but her shoulders were shaking. I'm scared, she whispered. What if this doesn't work? What if we can't figure out how to be a family? What if I disappoint you, or you disappoint me, and we end up hating each other like you and Mom did? Jonathan crossed the room, stopped a few feet from her, close enough to be present, but far enough to not crowd. Those are all real possibilities, he said honestly. We're both stubborn, both used to being alone, both carrying damage from the same source. My failures. We will disappoint each other. We will argue. There will be days when this feels impossible. That's not reassuring, but here's what I know. Jonathan's voice was firm now. I loved your mother more than my own life. I just didn't know how to show her that love in a way she could receive. And I lost her because of it. That taught me the most painful lesson I've ever learned. That love without action is just a pretty word. So I will act, Lily. Every day. Even when it's hard. Even when we're frustrated with each other, I will choose you. I will show up. Because you are my second chance. My last chance. And I will not waste it. Lily turned to face him, tears streaming down her face. Promise? I promise. She studied his face for a long moment. Then, for the first time since they'd met, she closed the distance between them and hugged him. Jonathan froze, shocked. Then his arms came up slowly, carefully, as if she might break, or disappear, or turn out to be a dream he'd wake from alone. But she was real, solid. His granddaughter, choosing to trust him despite every reason not to. Thank you, she whispered into his shoulder. For giving me your coat that night. For finding me. For trying. Thank you, he whispered back. For giving me the chance. They stood there as the afternoon light shifted. Two people building a bridge over an 18-year divide, one careful moment at a time. Eventually, Lily pulled back, wiping her eyes. This is going to be weird, isn't it? Probably catastrophically weird. Good. She smiled. A real smile this time. I'm tired of normal anyway. If this story is touching your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Sometimes a single share can change someone's perspective on kindness and second chances. The first weeks were, as predicted, catastrophically weird. Lily didn't know how to act in a house where she had her own bathroom, where meals appeared 3 times a day without her having to scavenge, where her clothes came back clean and folded. She hoarded food in her room at first, until Jonathan gently explained there would always be more. She woke up panicking, forgetting where she was, expecting to be back in a shelter. Jonathan didn't know how to be a parent, or a grandparent, or anything other than a billionaire who'd forgotten how to be human. He tried too hard, then pulled back too much, swinging between helicopter guardian and absent presence. Their first real fight happened over school. "You'll start at Ashford Academy in the fall," Jonathan announced at breakfast 2 weeks after she'd moved in. "It's the best private school in the city. Your mother went there." Lily set down her fork carefully. "Did you ask me if I wanted to go to private school? It's not really a question. You need an education. I am getting an education. I was enrolled at PS 147 before you. Public school is fine, but Ashford will give you opportunities that you want me to have, not that I want." Lily's voice was rising. "You're doing it again. Deciding for me. Controlling. I'm not controlling. I'm providing. You're buying me the life you think I should have instead of asking what I want." She stood abruptly. "My mom left because of this. Because you couldn't let her make her own choices. And here you are, doing the exact same thing to me." The words hit like a slap. Jonathan sat frozen as Lily stormed out of the dining room, her footsteps echoing up the stairs. A door slammed. Mrs. Chen appeared with coffee. "That went well. I'm paying you for honesty, not sarcasm." "You're paying me for both, sir." She poured his coffee. "The girl has a point. She needs a good education. She needs a grandfather who listens." Mrs. Chen set down the pot. "Ask her what she wants. Really ask. Then accept her answer, even if you don't like it." Jonathan sat at the empty table, staring at his congealing eggs. Then he stood and climbed the stairs to Evelyn's old room. To Lily's room now. He knocked. "Can I come in? It's your house. It's your room." Silence. Then, "Fine." He entered to find Lily sitting on the floor, surrounded by her mother's old art supplies. She'd been crying. "You were right," Jonathan said, sitting down on the floor across from her. His knees protested. "I was controlling. Deciding for you. Just like I did with your mother. At least you're consistent. Lily, I'm 70 years old. I built an empire by making decisions and expecting them to be followed. That's been my entire adult life. But you're not an employee. You're not a business problem to solve." He rubbed his face. "I'm trying to give you what I couldn't give your mother, but I'm going about it all wrong. You can't fix the past by controlling my future." "I know." He met her eyes. "So tell me, what do you want, really?" Lily was quiet for a moment, drawing abstract shapes on the floor with her finger. "I want to stay at my school. The teachers know me. The kids don't care that I was homeless. Half of them are barely hanging on too. It's real there. Not perfect, but real. Okay? Okay?" She looked up, surprised. "Just like that? Just like that? You stay at PS 147. We'll make sure you have everything you need. Supplies, tutoring if you want it. But it's your choice. What about all those opportunities you mentioned? Opportunities don't mean anything if you're miserable pursuing them." Jonathan shifted, his back aching. "Your mother taught me that. Or she tried to. I just wasn't listening. I'm listening now." Lily studied him, that familiar wariness in her eyes. "Are you going to be this reasonable about everything? Probably not. I'll probably mess up 1,000 more times, but I'll try to listen. And when I don't, you're allowed to call me out on it, like you just did." He paused. "Deal." A ghost of a smile. "Deal." They fell into a rhythm after that. Not perfect, but functional. Jonathan learned to ask instead of tell. Lily learned to voice her needs instead of just surviving. They had dinner together most nights, sometimes talking, sometimes in comfortable silence. She told him about school. He told her about Evelyn, filling in pieces of the mother she'd lost too young. She got suspended once, Jonathan said one evening, for organizing a walkout to protest the dress code. She was 15. Made signs, wrote speeches, convinced half the school to leave campus for the afternoon. I got called to the principal's office like I was the one in trouble. Were you mad? Furious? Jonathan smiled at the memory. Then, I got home and read her speech. It was brilliant. Thoughtful. Made actual valid points about how girls were being policed while boys got away with everything. I realized I'd raised someone who would stand up for what was right, even when it was inconvenient. Even when it cost her something. That must have been scary, Lily said. Having a kid who challenged you, terrifying. And I responded to that terror by trying to control her more. Instead of celebrating her strength, I tried to contain it. He looked at Lily across the table. I won't make that mistake with you. If you want to organize a walkout, you organize a walkout. Just maybe, give me a heads up so I'm not completely blindsided. Lily laughed. No promises. The garden project became their shared refuge. True to her mother's memory, Lily wanted to grow things. Jonathan hired a landscaper to clear out the overgrown mess behind the house. But it was Lily who chose what to plant. Flowers, mostly. Bright ones. Colors that would make the whole yard explode with life come spring. They worked side by side on Saturday mornings, digging in dirt that got under their fingernails and made Jonathan's back scream. But he didn't care. These were the moments that mattered. Not grand gestures, but simple presence. Mom would have loved this, Lily said one morning, tamping down soil around a rose bush. She always wanted a garden. Then we're making her dream real. Jonathan sat back on his heels. Even if she can't see it, maybe she can. Lily brushed dirt from her hands. I like to think she's watching, making sure you don't screw this up. That sounds exactly like something she'd do. As fall turned to winter, they decorated for Christmas. The first time the mansion had been decorated in 15 years. Lily went overboard, covering every surface in lights and tinsel. Mrs. Chen pretended to complain, but secretly loved it. It's too much, Jonathan said, staring at the 12-foot tree in the main hall. It's perfect, Lily corrected. Mom and I never got to have a real Christmas. This is for her too. So they kept every ridiculous decoration. They baked cookies that didn't turn out quite right. They watched holiday movies. They were building traditions, brick by careful brick. On Christmas morning, Lily came downstairs to find a mountain of presents under the tree. You went overboard, she said, but she was smiling. I have 18 years of Christmases to make up for. Jonathan handed her the first gift. Start with this one. She unwrapped it carefully, not tearing the paper like he'd expected, but peeling back each fold like it was precious. Inside was a leather-bound journal and a set of expensive pens. Your mother loved to write, Jonathan explained. Kept journals from the time she was 10 until she left. I still have them if you ever want to read them. But I thought you might want to start your own story. Lily traced her fingers over the smooth leather. Thank you. They went through the presents slowly. Clothes that Lily had actually picked out herself, art supplies, books, a new laptop for school. But the last gift was small, wrapped in simple brown paper. This one's from your mother, Jonathan said quietly. Lily's hands shook as she took it. What?
When she left, she took a few things with her. The social worker who contacted me after she died found this in her belongings. It was labeled, "For my daughter, someday." I've been holding on to it, waiting for the right moment. Inside was a small velvet box. Lily opened it to reveal a simple silver locket. She pressed the catch, and it opened to show two photos. One of Evelyn as a young woman, and one of an infant Lily. A note was folded underneath, in shaky handwriting. My darling girl, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't give you more. I'm sorry for all the nights you went cold and hungry. I'm sorry I wasn't stronger. But know this, you were wanted. So wanted. You are loved. You are enough. Don't let the world tell you otherwise. And if you ever find him, if you ever meet your grandfather, give him a chance. He made mistakes. We all do. But there was good in him once. Maybe there still is. Love forever, Mom. Lily was crying before she finished reading. So was Jonathan. She believed in you, Lily whispered, even after everything.
She believed in love. Jonathan replied. Even when I'd given her no reason to. That's who your mother was. Someone who chose hope, even when the world gave her despair. Lily put on the locket, then turned to Jonathan. Merry Christmas, Grandpa. It was the first time she'd called him that. Not Mr. Whitmore. Not Jonathan. Grandpa. Something in his chest broke open. In the best possible way. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. Winter gave way to spring. The garden they'd planted began to bloom. Explosions of color that transformed the gray backyard into something alive. Lily photographed every new flower, showing Jonathan with the excitement of someone witnessing miracles. School was going well. She'd made friends, joined the art club, maintained straight A's despite everything she'd been through. Teachers loved her. Other kids gravitated to her quiet strength. But not everything was perfect. Some nights, Jonathan would hear her crying through the bedroom door. He'd knock, ask if she was okay. Sometimes she'd let him in. Sometimes she'd say she needed space. He learned to respect both responses. I miss her, Lily said one night, letting him sit on the edge of her bed. It's stupid. I have all this now. A home, safety, you. But I still miss her so much it hurts. It's not stupid. She was your mother. That bond doesn't end just because circumstances improve. Do you miss her? Every day. Jonathan's voice was rough. Every day, I wonder what she'd be like now. What kind of relationship we could have rebuilt if I'd tried harder to find her. If I'd humbled myself enough to admit I was wrong. You're trying now. With me. Because she gave me the chance through you. Even after I failed her, she made sure I'd have the opportunity to do better. That's grace I never deserved. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she said, tell me something else about her. Something good. I need to remember the good things. So he did. He told her about Evelyn's laugh. Loud and uninhibited, the kind that made strangers smile. About her terrible singing voice that she used anyway, belting out songs in the car with zero shame. About the way she'd argue passionately about movies and books, defending her interpretations with the fervor of a lawyer. She sounds amazing, Lily said when he finished. She was. She really was. I wish I'd known her when she was happy. Before everything got hard, you gave her happiness, Lily. Even in the difficult years. You were her reason to keep going. That's no small thing. Lily pulled out her mother's letter again. She kept it in her nightstand, read it often. She wanted me to give you a chance. I did. And you know what? What? She was right. There is good in you. Maybe there always was. You just forgot how to show it. Jonathan felt tears on his face again. Seemed like he cried more these days than he had in the previous 68 years combined. But they were good tears. Healing tears. I'm grateful, he said, that you reminded me how. That you were brave enough to trust me despite having every reason not to. I'm still scared sometimes, Lily admitted. That this will end. That I'll wake up and it'll all have been a dream. Then let me be clear. Jonathan took her hand gently. This is real. You are home. And nothing, no argument, no disagreement, no bad day, will change that. You are my granddaughter. You are wanted. You are loved. And you are not going anywhere unless you choose to. That's a promise I will keep until my last breath. Lily squeezed his hand. Okay, I believe you. And in that moment, in that simple declaration, Jonathan felt something he hadn't felt in decades. Forgiveness. Not just from Lily, but from Evelyn through her. And, finally, from himself. The first anniversary of Lily moving in came in late spring. The garden was in full bloom. Exactly as she'd planned. Roses, tulips, daisies, sunflowers. A riot of life where there had once been nothing. Jonathan found Lily sitting among the flowers, sketchbook in hand. She'd taken up art like her mother, filling pages with drawings of the garden, the house, memories of her mom. Can I join you? He asked. She nodded, moving over to make room on the bench. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching bees work the flowers, listening to the city noise that never quite disappeared even here. You know what day it is? Lily finally asked. 1 year since you came home. 1 year since you gave me your coat. She set down her sketchbook. I still have it, you know, in my closet. It doesn't fit the aesthetic of the room, but I can't get rid of it. You shouldn't. It's a reminder. Of what? That sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can change everything. Jonathan looked at the garden around them. I gave you a coat to keep warm one night. You gave me a reason to be human again. I'd say we both got the better end of that bargain. Lily leaned against his shoulder. Something she did more often now, these casual touches that spoke of trust built slowly. Mom used to say that broken things could be beautiful if you were willing to do the work of putting them back together. She was talking about us, I think. Maybe. Or maybe she was talking about herself. Or you. Or all of us. Lily picked up her sketchbook again, showing him the page she'd been working on. It was a portrait of Evelyn, drawn from the photographs Lily had kept, filled in with stories Jonathan had told. It's beautiful, he said, his voice catching. You have her talent. I have both of you in me, Lily corrected. Her creativity. Your stubbornness. That's not a bad combination, once you figure out how to balance it. Is that what we've done? Found balance? We're getting there. She added a few more pencil strokes to the portrait. It's not perfect. We still fight. You still try to control things sometimes. I still push back too hard. But we're trying. That counts for something. It counts for everything. They sat in the garden until sunset, talking about everything and nothing. Making plans for summer. A trip to visit colleges, even though Lily still had years before that decision. A proper memorial for Evelyn in the garden, something permanent and beautiful. More flowers, always more flowers. As the light faded, Lily said, I forgive you. For everything that happened with Mom. For not finding us sooner. For all the years we lost. I forgive you. Jonathan couldn't speak. Could only pull her into a hug and hold on while his shoulders shook. And I think she forgave you too, Lily continued, her voice muffled against his shoulder. That's what the letter meant. She let go of the anger. Chose love instead. We should honor that by doing the same. I don't deserve. No one deserves forgiveness. That's not how it works. You just receive it and try to do better. Lily pulled back, looking at him seriously. So do better, Grandpa. Keep showing up. Keep choosing love. That's how you honor her memory. That's how you make this matter. I will. He wiped his eyes. I promise I will. As they walked back to the house together, Jonathan thought about that night in the rain. How close he'd come to just walking past. How easy it would have been to let Thomas pull away, to go home to his empty mansion, to never know what he'd lost. One choice. One moment of basic human decency. One coat given to a stranger. And everything had changed. Inside, Mrs. Chen had prepared a special dinner. All of Lily's favorites, which included some questionable combinations that made Jonathan's refined palate wince. But he ate it anyway, because it made her happy. To 1 year, Mrs. Chen said, raising a glass of sparkling cider. To second chances, Thomas added. He'd joined them for dinner, another new tradition. To family, Jonathan said, looking at Lily. To finding each other, Lily finished. Even when the world tried to keep us apart. They drank to that. And then they did what families do. They ate together, laughed at bad jokes, told stories, made memories. Later that night, after everyone had gone to their rooms, Jonathan stood in his study, looking at the photograph of Evelyn on his desk. He'd added others now. Pictures of Lily. Pictures of the two of them together. Pictures of the life they were building. I hope you're proud, he said to the photo, to his daughter, to whatever piece of her might still be listening. I'm trying to do right by her. By both of you. It doesn't erase my failures. But maybe it can balance them out. The photograph, of course, didn't answer. But Jonathan felt something. Peace, maybe. The sense that somewhere, somehow, Evelyn knew. And approved. His phone buzzed. A text from Lily. Thanks for today. For every day. Love you, Grandpa. 3 words he'd never expected to read again. He typed back. Love you too, sweetheart. Always. and meant it with every fiber of his being. The rain came again in early June, a summer storm that rolled through Manhattan with the same fury as the one that had changed everything. Jonathan stood at the window of his study, watching water cascade down the glass, and remembered. Remembered a girl shivering in the rain. Remembered the choice to stop. Remembered everything that had come after. "Grandpa?" Lily appeared in the doorway, wearing pajamas and holding a mug of tea. "Can't sleep, just thinking." She joined him at the window. "About that night? How did you know?" "Because I'm thinking about it too. It's weird, right? How one random moment can change everything." "Not random," Jonathan corrected gently. "Fate, destiny, whatever you want to call it. You were meant to be here. Your mother made sure of it." "You really believe that?" "I have to. Otherwise, the pain of losing her is just pain." "But if it led to finding you to this?" He gestured at the home around them, the life they'd built. "Then maybe something good came from something terrible. Maybe that's what redemption looks like." Lily sipped her tea, watching the storm. "I used to hate the rain. Reminded me of all the nights I spent cold and wet. But now," she smiled slightly, "now it reminds me of the night a stubborn old billionaire gave his coat to a stranger. So maybe rain isn't so bad." "Stubborn old billionaire." Jonathan raised an eyebrow. "That's how you see me, among other things. Stubborn. Old. But also kind. Trying. Present." She bumped his shoulder with hers. "Not perfect. But good enough. Good enough," Jonathan repeated. "I'll take it." They stood together, watching the storm, and Jonathan thought about all the people out there right now. People who were cold, hungry, alone. People who needed someone to stop, to see them, to offer warmth. "I want to do more," he said suddenly. "The foundation, the donations. It's not enough. I want to help kids like you, like your mother. Give them actual chances, not just money thrown at problems." "What did you have in mind?" "Housing. Real housing, not shelters. Education support. Mental health resources. Maybe," he turned to Lily, "maybe a place named after your mother. A place where kids who've fallen through the cracks can find solid ground." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "You mean it. Every word. With your input, of course. I'm not making decisions for you, or for them. But together, maybe we can build something that matters." "The Evelyn Whitmore Center," Lily said softly. "A place for second chances, for as many chances as it takes." Jonathan put his arm around her shoulders. "What do you think? Want to change the world with your old, stubborn grandfather?" Lily hugged him tight. "Yeah, I really do." The storm outside raged on, but inside, in the warm light of the study, they began to plan. Not just a building, but a legacy. Not just charity, but change. Real, lasting change that would honor the woman they'd both loved and lost. Before you go, if this story moved you, please take a moment to like this video and leave a comment sharing your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that remind us why kindness matters. Your support helps us create content that inspires others to be the change they want to see in the world. Months turned into years. The Evelyn Whitmore Center became real. Not just a dream, but an actual building in Lower Manhattan, staffed by people who cared, serving kids who needed someone to believe in them. Lily was involved in every decision, from the color of the walls to the programs they offered. She graduated high school with honors, gave a speech at graduation about second chances that left half the audience in tears, got accepted to NYU, chose to stay close to home, close to Jonathan, close to the life they'd built. Jonathan slowed down at the company, delegating more, being present more. He still worked, but it no longer consumed him. There were grandparent-teacher conferences to attend, art shows to support, dinners that couldn't be missed. Thomas retired, but still came by for Sunday dinners. Mrs. Chen complained about cooking for so many people, but secretly loved having a full house. The mansion that had been a tomb became a home, filled with life and laughter and love. On the third anniversary of that rainy night, they held the official opening of the Evelyn Whitmore Center. Politicians came. Philanthropists came. But most importantly, the kids came. Dozens of them, kids who needed what Lily had needed. A chance. A choice. A place to belong. Jonathan stood at the podium, looking out at the crowd, and felt Lily's hand slip into his. "You should say something," she whispered. "I thought you were doing the speech. We'll do it together." So they did. 3 years ago, Jonathan began, his voice carrying across the assembled crowd. "I made a choice. A simple choice that changed my life. I gave my coat to a girl in the rain. I didn't know who she was. Didn't know what that moment would mean. But that's the thing about kindness. You never know where it leads." Lily continued, "My grandfather lost his daughter because he forgot how to love out loud. My mother spent years struggling because she had nowhere to turn. And I almost fell through the same cracks they did. But that one moment, that one choice to stop, to see, to care, changed everything. This center," Jonathan said, "is named after Evelyn Whitmore, my daughter, Lily's mother. A woman who made mistakes, but who loved fiercely. A woman who deserved better than what the world gave her. We can't change the past, but we can honor it by doing better going forward. So this place," Lily finished, "is for everyone who needs a second chance. Who needs someone to stop in the rain and say, 'I see you. You matter.' Because everyone deserves that. Everyone deserves to be seen." The crowd erupted in applause. Jonathan looked at his granddaughter, poised, confident, becoming the woman her mother would have been proud of, and felt the final piece of his broken heart click into place. After the ceremony, after the speeches and tours and handshakes, they found themselves alone in the center's library. It was designed to look like the one at the shelter where they'd first connected. Full of books and comfortable chairs and warmth. "She would have loved this," Lily said, running her hand along a bookshelf. "Mom would have been so proud. She is proud. I'm certain of it." Jonathan sat in one of the chairs. "And I'm proud of you, of what we've built, of the fact that you're still here, still choosing this family despite how complicated it is. It's not complicated." Lily sat across from him. "It's just ours. That's enough. Is it? Really? Yeah, Grandpa. It really is." She smiled, that full, genuine smile that lit up her whole face. "You know what the best part is? When I put on that coat 3 years ago, I thought I was just trying to survive another night. I had no idea I was finding my way home. Neither did I. I thought I was just being decent. Turns out I was saving myself. We saved each other. Yeah." Jonathan felt his eyes getting wet again. 3 years later, and he still cried at the drop of a hat. Lily said it made him human. He supposed she was right. We really did. They sat in the library until the sun set, talking about the future. Lily's plans for college and beyond, Jonathan's plans for expansion of the center, the garden that kept growing every year. And when they finally left, walking out into a Manhattan evening that was clear and warm, Jonathan thought about the coat. About how something as simple as warmth given freely could change 2 lives forever. He thought about Evelyn, about the daughter he'd lost and found again through Lily. About mistakes and forgiveness and the long, hard work of becoming better. He thought about the hundreds of kids who would walk through the center's doors in the years to come. Kids who would get the chance Evelyn never had. Kids who would find solid ground because one girl survived and chose to help others survive too. "Ready to go home?" Lily asked, linking her arm through his. "Yeah," Jonathan said. "I'm ready." And as they walked to the car where Thomas waited, as the city lights began to glow in the gathering darkness, Jonathan realized something. He'd spent so many years thinking wealth was the measure of success. So many years believing money could buy happiness, security, or meaning. But standing here with his granddaughter, looking at a building that would help thousands, he finally understood. The greatest wealth wasn't in his bank account. It was in the choice to care, the choice to stop, the choice to love, even when it was hard. especially when it was hard. That night in the rain, a billionaire had given his coat to a freezing girl, thinking it was a small act of kindness. He was wrong. It was the beginning of everything. It was the moment he remembered how to be human. It was the moment two broken people found each other and started to heal. And it was proof that sometimes the smallest choices echo the loudest. Sometimes one moment of compassion can change not just one life, but generations. Sometimes all it takes is a coat in the rain, and the courage to stop when everyone else walks. Thank you so much for watching this story all the way to the end. If it touched your heart, please hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that kindness matters. Drop a comment below and tell us about a time someone showed you unexpected kindness, or when you chose to help a stranger. Your stories inspire us to keep creating content that reminds us all we're more connected than we think, and every act of love ripples out into the world in ways we can't always see. Until next time, choose kindness, choose love, and remember, you never know when one small choice might change everything.